Got on Dane Melby, the maintenance manager for the building. There's no announcements besides the fact that we still need help during all of our worship services, ushers, worship coordinators, communion servers, tech people to help me out, ultra ministry, so stuff like that. There's a big board up in the narthex that you can sign up on, or you can go to the website. Alrighty, so let's get right into the questions. Why don't you give us like a little introduction on yourself, just like who you are,
Okay.
something like that.
My name is Dane Melby. Most people here probably know my parents, Don and Janet, members of the church here. Have been for quite some time. I was not real familiar with English Lutheran. I had been here a handful of times over the years. But then about a year ago, after many years living in Madison, working in food service, following the pandemic and not really wanting to try to start over there, certainly not in food service, I decided to move to La Crosse. This was just an area I knew I'd like to get to eventually. And so I moved here at the beginning of May last year, and so I'm coming up on just about a year. And I spent the first number of months working at Goose Island County Park, which was a very good experience. I enjoyed it there. Then the opportunity came along here that I hadn't really considered a whole lot, but then just starting to realize that my county employment would come to an end soon enough, and this was initially listed as a part-time job, became a full-time job, and so it became of more interest to me in things, and I'll be perfectly honest, pleased as punch that it did. I don't have a lot of background in building maintenance by any means, but certainly I know how to keep things clean and stuff, and certainly happy and willing to learn some things, and daunted by a little bit by some challenges and stuff. But HVAC is not my forte by any means, but soon enough it will be. So, that's what brought me here and got me to English Lutheran, and it's been a good experience thus far.
Fair enough. Now, do you have any Actually, you said you were at a restaurant prior to this, right?
Yeah.
Have you worked in a lot of restaurants?
Yeah, I did. While I was in Madison over 15, 20 years, I did. I worked at, more places than I should admit to, but restaurants are about dynamics, and you always have to find the right dynamic in a place, and I had a few really good experiences there. I really enjoyed waiting tables. I was front of the house, doing the front end. I was not in the kitchen. I can cook a little bit, but I worked everything from greasy spoon diners, essentially, including Mickey's Dairy Bar, which some people may be familiar with. It's directly across from Camp Randall Stadium in Madison. I worked there, which is just super high volume breakfast, lunch place, malts, shakes, and a few more malts, and then a couple more shakes to go along with all those scramblers. I spent years at a place called Plaka, once known as Cleveland's Diner, but then I worked in some very nice fine dining, Restaurant Magnus. I worked at Nostrano, came and went, was a very nice place. Those were, Restaurant Magnus was a terrific experience. I worked at the Old Fashioned in Madison for a while at one time, which a lot of people will know the name of. It's right on the Capitol Square. I was working in a couple of places when the pandemic struck, both of which shut down. One got up and running shortly thereafter, but ran just as a takeout place until eventually the owners decided to get out and sold the building. The other place tried to reopen. Mostly their success was predicated on food carts that used to go down onto the Capitol Square and onto the campus, and needless to say, when they tried to reopen and send those down there was no students, there was no office workers anymore, and then eventually one night a couple of those carts got vandalized sitting out back of the place, so they decided to fold up, and they got out of it and things too, and that's why, as I said, I sat unemployed for longer than I wish I would have, but I just decided I didn't want to start over, and I didn't particularly want to go back to food service, to be honest with you.
No, that's totally fine. I only, because I've worked in restaurants, I only usually actually really a back of the house experience, because I was a cook and a dishwasher, and I'm not gonna lie, never got along with the front of the house all the time.
There are things, and trust me, I've washed my share of dishes in restaurants too and things, I always had a lot of sympathy front to the back of the house and things, but
Although I could never be a waiter because I can't memorize a menu to save my life.
yeah. Well, and I think it's a very similar thing. Some people are simply meant for the front end, some people are meant for the back end, and they each take a skill set. So.
No, absolutely, I agree. I don't have the person skills for
Yeah.
a waiter.
Well, and I don't have the line skills to be back there and work under that kind of pressure there.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the pandemic actually did hit restaurants pretty hard. I think you said most of the ones you were at did close with the pandemic coming in?
Well, the two I was at when the pandemic struck, I mean, I remember very well that day. It was March 15th of 2020, which I remember easily. That's my mother's birthday. It happens to be my son's birthday as well. So beware the Ides of March for me. So, I just remember, I had worked through the end of that week on Friday at the one place, and I was only working Sundays at the other place. And I went in on that Sunday, and at the end of the day, we were all just kind of looking at each other, really none of us knowing what to expect next. And we just kind of said goodbye, and like I said, that place, he ended up, as soon as he could, he opened up again, but he was just doing takeout, and it just was never the same. And then they put the building on the market, just trying to test the waters, and they actually got an offer the same day. It didn't go through on that first offer, but eventually, within a couple of months, they were sold, and they were out of the business. And I think he was quite happy to just be done with the food service business at that point. So, but yeah, the other one, just decided it was just not worth it to try to keep going and things. So.
No, that makes sense. Now I know you explained it a little bit, like that you're the building maintenance manager here, but do you want to go into that a bit more on like maybe the day-to-day?
Yeah, day-to-day. Well, obviously, first and foremost is keeping things clean. I remember before I applied, I rode by here on my bike one day, and I looked at it, and I'm like, that's a pretty big building. And it is a big building. It is not the easiest to keep clean. There are certain things that have priorities, especially in this time, of COVID and hopefully coming out of it and things. But, I understand the chemicals I'm using and things. I got some good familiarity with that kind of thing when I was down at Goose Island last summer too, because they kind of went over a bit of that. I've got some good diligence there, making sure that things get cleaned properly. That's the big thing going around, making sure things get wiped down between different groups and stuff like that, on a weekly basis, making sure a Sunday school room just gets generally wiped down and things. I wish I could spend more time doing some vacuuming and things like that, but it seems like I get pulled in 1,000 directions. But there are times, like I say, you get pulled somewhere you're not expecting to, but of course there's a lot of setup, there's a lot of tear down, getting fellowship ready every Sunday. When there's Sunday conversations, making sure that's set up, making sure things are set up for confirmation every week, et cetera, et cetera. So there's, taking up or setting up tables, chairs, different things for music practice, that kind of thing, making sure the bell choir gets set up once a month in the sanctuary here and things. So it's a lot of busy work. It's a lot of hiking stuff up, pulling stuff down, wiping stuff down, et cetera, and things. But it becomes relatively routine. I'll be honest, at first I wasn't quite sure if I remember how to set all these things, but after you've done each one 3 or 4 times, it sinks in pretty easily. And the big ones certainly are fellowship and getting the quilters set up every Tuesday and things. And but it's fun, and Tuesday it's wonderful because I get to come in and say hello to all the quilters, and they're just wonderfully nice people. And
I still haven't encountered the quilters.
Oh, you should. And make sure you show up just about 10 a.m. because that's when they sit down to have their little treat each week, which is always good unless it happens to contain coconut, which luckily that hasn't been the case except in one week. But it is. They're just wonderfully nice people, and it's really something to sit and see what it is that they're creating back there because they've just got some skills that.
Yeah, because I remember, like, I forgot what it was, but there was like it was either with Hope Restores or something else where they like made like almost like 5 quilts in like a week.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh.
like, how?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've been doing it for some time, you know, and they can put those things together, and they're beautiful. I mean, they're absolutely stunning. And I remember just helping hang up one just before Christmas in the community room, you know, and just last week we changed a couple of those out, and they're just, you know, using what seems like, you know, some material had been provided to them not long ago, and it looks so unremarkable when it's first handed to you, just folded up, and then they turn it into something, and you're like, wow, you know, I'd like to throw that on my bed, you know, sort of thing, and it is, but it just wonderfully nice people, and just, you know, good eggs all around, and just fun to be around too. You know, you go in there and you feel a certain energy. You know, you feel that camaraderie going on between them.
Yeah, I would say most, if not all, the people I've encountered while working here personally is everyone's very welcoming.
Yeah.
Like from the staff to the different groups that are here.
Oh yeah, and you know, especially for me in my position, you know, I think I think they were missing having a maintenance coordinator for some time, even through COVID and things, and you know, everybody's just been super nice, you know, thanking me for what I'm doing and things, and I look at them and I'm like, you're welcome, I'm getting paid to do this, you remember, and stuff, but I mean, just, you know, I think they appreciate the fact that somebody is here to keep an eye on things, you know, keep things clean, change out these lights, you know, when they're out and things, because, you know, it makes the place more inviting, and I get that, and I think that's important, you know, to make sure this is a place where people want to be, you know, that they can have some pride in the church that they go to and things.
No, absolutely. You've been doing a phenomenal job, man.
And I appreciate that.
All right, now the next set of questions are more relaxing questions, not particularly work-related. They're just kind of like stuff maybe you're into or whatnot. And the first up is, what type of music are you into?
Well, I'll name a band that is a particular favorite, or a couple bands, I guess, that are particular favorites. And these may not be common names, but Dire Straits, The Replacements. I like a lot of good guitar-based rock and roll from, you know, my youth, you know, and I haven't let it go. But I mean, I like a lot of different stuff. You know, if you were to go through my hard drive, some people are a little surprised sometimes. I have one particular, under all the albums on there, I created one called Singles. And it's just a place where I just go in and I dump songs, or I pull songs off of other albums that and I'll put it on random, and there's like 1,200 songs in there. And it's just, you know, but it's everything from classical to, you know, like I say, 70s, 80s, guitar-based, you know, there's some folk, a little bit of country, Americana in there. There's some gangsta rap in there, you know, from that early 90s time, you know, not my favorite genre, but there's a few songs I like, you know, but it's just, you know, a lot of, you know, there's some movie themes and stuff in there, movie music, and things too. Yeah, just a lot of different things, but, you know, I like rhythm and songs, I like, you know, I like a strong melody in a song, and, but yeah, if you know The Replacements, you know what I like and things, and,
I'm familiar with Dire Straits. For some reason, I'm blanking on The Replacements, but yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a 80s garage band that always wanted to hit it big, but I like to say they had too much integrity to hit it big.
I see.
So.
Okay. No, that's fine. Alrighty. Next up, we got, I don't know, movies and TV. Like, favorite movies, TV that you're into.
Well, it's hard for me to say TV, and I'm a little bit behind the curve these days. I don't don't pay for cable TV. I just use the internet that's provided to me at my apartment, so I don't have subscription services.
No, that's fine. It doesn't have to be.
But you know, I mean, I've got some favorite movies I'll name. I love the movie Excalibur from 1980 or 81, is it? I think the John Boorman version. Yeah, I own that on DVD. You know, there's a movie Sling Blade, Being There. The other night, actually, I came across on one of the Dash 2 channels on my little antenna TV, Peggy Sue Got Married, which I think is just a terrific movie. Yeah, The Razor's Edge with Bill Murray from years ago. It was right after Ghostbusters, and if they were going to get him to go Ghostbusters 2, they had to agree to let him make that movie. It's based on a Somerset Maugham novel. Really good movie. I think a lot of people, if they saw it once, you should look at it again and get a little perspective after more of Bill Murray's acting career. I think you have a little bit more appreciation. He was very raw for a dramatic role at the time, but I think looking back on it, he actually did a pretty good job in that movie. But yeah, I mean, I like a lot of different things. I'm not a big action guy. I'm not a big, DC, Marvel kind of guy. I can enjoy some of those movies, but I guess I like something a little bit more serious that's got some sort of...
One of my favorite movies is, I don't know if you've never, it came out in 1982, it's The Thing with Kurt Russell.
I've seen it before. I've seen it before.
That's one of my favorites. The practical effects in that, very disturbing, very great.
Yeah. No, and some people would probably say I have a little bit maybe more on the dark side. I'm not real lighthearted when it comes to movies. I'm not into romantic comedies and that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like movies that have something of a message maybe with them and things, but which is kind of different. I do enjoy things on television that are on the more irreverent side. Some of the things that other people may find, I get a kick out of the Family Guys of the world and that kind of thing. I don't particularly follow any of those. I did one time have Netflix, and I had it on my computer, and I made the effort to watch the entire run of The West Wing.
It's oddly specific.
Yeah, it is oddly specific, but I had enjoyed it, but I wasn't sure if I had ever seen all of it, so I made the effort to sit down and watch all, I don't know how many seasons it was. And by the time it was done, I was like, I never want to do anything like this again, because I realized how much time I had sat in front of that screen watching all of that. So, I remember, Dexter, I really enjoyed the first couple of years of, but the last few years I saw some, but not all, because I really lost interest after the first two.
I think that's pretty common for Dexter.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, huge fan through the first 3 years. By the time it was all over, I really kind of wish I had never come upon it.
That's also a common theme with Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
especially with how it wrapped up.
Yeah, I thought personally, I'll just go ahead and say it, I thought the 8th season was absolutely abysmal.
Oh, the 8th season is horrendous. It is just bad.
The last good sequence in that show, I believe, was the opening sequence of season 7 when the Arya did in-house fray. And from that point on, I think the show could have just gone away as far as I was concerned. Which is really too bad. The first couple of years, I was really into it. But, of course, they were dealing with the original material at that point, and then...
When they had to make their own ending, it didn't go very well.
Yeah, and once they were tossed enough money, I think they just got a little carried away with their bad selves, so...
No, I completely agree. Game of well, I'm sure those books will be finished someday.
I'm going to guess at this point he doesn't see much incentive to. Just my opinion.
I mean, if you look at it one way, though, he's got a list of what not to do
because
of the show. He's actually got a way easier time to write now.
Yeah, that is true.
Speaking of books and stuff, do you have a favorite book, as random as that is? Or a couple books that you like?
I'm not going to lie, I'm not a voracious reader. I can't really off the top of my head say that to books. I've read over the years, and I guess I just don't feel that drawn in necessarily to say that, oh, this is something I've got. I can look back on a book like the first time I read the Da Vinci Code. I was like, wow, that was wonderful. And then, I got through it in just a couple of nights, and then I went through it again, and I'm like, okay, it was fun the first time, and not as much the second time. I look back on a book I picked up in an airport one time, Guns, Germs, and Steel. I don't know if you know the book by a guy named Jared Diamond. who is an ornithologist by training, but wrote a book about human history and why we ended up as we did, Europeans versus Aborigines versus, and a great book, but super dense. And, I read it once and it was super fascinating. I tried to read it again and I was like, it's too dense. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. I bought the official second edition books because I thought, I'm going to read these, and these are things I'm going to read over and over again over the years. I read the first one, and I did not want to read the other two. But because I spent the money, I read the other two. I got all the way through them. As soon as I did, I put them on eBay and sold them, and I was like, I never want to read those books again. Love The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings. Just a little too much. So I know that won't make me popular with some people.
No, but, it's funny. Well, you said you like The Hobbit. My father's favorite book is The Hobbit, and he rereads books all the time. I don't know how he does it because I'm of the same mind. Maybe I never have an urge to go back to read a book after I read it.
I mean, I've read The Hobbit a couple of times over the years and things. But I just find it entertaining.
Absolutely. It's also not a particularly long read.
Yeah, and it's a relatively easy read. So, but yeah, I can get really lost in dense books. It just part of it is I think for me it's just the sitting down. I just don't enjoy the sitting down to a read as much as many people do. My mother, I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching. I know that probably comes as a bit of a disappointment, but it's just, I'm just not a voracious reader.
No, I only end up reading a book, it's super specified, there's just sometimes those moments where you're like, I want to read something, but it's not very often.
Yeah.
It's not part of my daily activities.
Yeah, likewise for me.
Alrighty. Next up we got, are there any, sports you follow?
I mean, I like to follow stuff. I'm not a dedicated sports fan by any means.
Neither am I. But
NFL comes on, I like to watch the Packers. I'm a Steelers fan from back in the day. I met Franco Harris once. But I'm not, I don't have to tune in to Sports Center. I follow things, and, the NCAA tournament was just on. I find it entertaining. I find it a bit of a bummer that I can't watch the title game unless I have cable TV, so that's part of why I just don't get into it that much and things. I've enjoyed over the last number of years, following the NCAA, doing a little bracket and stuff like that. Heck, in 2020, I even went so far as I had made my own spreadsheet to try to figure out how the whole thing was going to go, and then, of course, the whole thing got canceled. And so I realized I was taking things a little too seriously at that point. I just, kind of like with reading, I can't get that dedicated to following sports, it's entertainment to me, and that's it. I'm like many people. The Olympics come on, and suddenly I'm an expert on bobsledding, for 6 hours, and then, you've seen all you want to, sort of thing. But I enjoy football. I enjoy some college basketball. I'm not a fan of the NBA. Baseball, love to go to a park. I'll go with you to, any baseball stadium anytime. I enjoy the atmosphere. I just like the sounds of the game.
I don't know, maybe it's just in my opinion. I find it hard to engage when watching sports on TV, but even if I'm not, even if there was a football game that I could go see, I might not be into it, but just being at the game is just a fun experience usually.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to go to a number of Packer games over the last few years, mainly with my brother and his wife and things. And I've enjoyed thoroughly. I got to see one against the Lions, where Alan Lazard caught the winning pass late in the fourth quarter, right in front of us, basically. And I'm an Iowa State alum, so I was thrilled to see it because he graduated from Iowa State. I was also there a couple years ago on that very cold night just before Christmas when the Vikings played the Packers, watching people taking their free hot chocolate and walk down the stairs in the stadium, spilling it all over their mittens and gloves and things, and it was, second coldest game I think ever at Lambeau at the time. But I also realized, although I enjoy going there, not a big fan of it when it's 6 below, I have to admit. And
I can't imagine.
TV or football is really made for TV. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, the very first time I ever went to a Packer game years back, before they had done all the renovations at Lambeau Field, I remember sitting there very early on in the game, and suddenly everything just sort of stopped, and all the guys were just kind of milling around and talking to each other. And I'm like, what is going on right now? And a guy looked at me sitting in front of me. He's like, TV, timeout. I'm like, television, blast you, television, But the way it just seemed to disrupt the rhythm of the game while you're sitting there, and you don't realize that when you watch it on TV because all you're seeing is the game. Here you're seeing guys just stand around, and it was really kind of odd, but.
All right, well, that's all for those questions. Actually, I got one more. This is really random, but for some reason I keep getting insisted that I ask it despite how simple it is. What is your favorite color?
Green.
Green?
Yep.
That was really fast and decisive.
Yeah, I know it.
No.
Yeah, if you
I've
would
asked
understand.
it a couple times now, and people go, well, and then they think about it,
No, if you went to my house, you would understand. I mean, I did actually change up my shower curtain when I moved to La Crosse. I went with blue.
Bold move.
But yeah, generally, green is a big theme for me. So.
No, that's fine. All right, now on to the next stuff. Do you want to give any updates on stuff for building maintenance-wise?
Yeah, I think I would, and I think some people would probably be happy to hear that we are coming near the end of the big HVAC project that has been going on, hopefully in the background, so most people haven't seen it, but I'm sure there are people anxious to see the trailer from Winona Controls out of our parking lot. They have done a wonderful job. I've got nothing but praise for the people there. They are dealing with supply issues like everyone else, so this has gone on longer than it should, but a lot of that is out of their control, certainly out of our control. But yes, we are coming near the end. We will actually, if you have seen technically they're called chiller units, I believe, out in front of the sanctuary. We refer to them as robots. Those will be start up for those on Thursday morning, which requires someone from the Twin Cities to come down. So they'll initially be starting those up, testing those to make sure everything works properly with those. Then we just have a few little things to finish up for that big project, a few other little ancillary things going on. But yeah, I mean, greatly this has increased efficiency for heating and cooling. This is going to give us better ventilation, certainly in the sanctuary in narthex, where there was not particularly good ventilation before and things. So we're getting there. We're getting very close, and it will be nice to get past all of that. As far as a few other things, we're hoping maybe to put some fence in front of those units out in front of the sanctuary a little bit to help hide them a bit. Aesthetically, they're not the most pleasing things sitting out there, but yeah, we're going to work a little bit on that. Pardon me while I reach down here and just check one other thing. I did get my new lawnmower. So.
Did you?
Yes, it just wasn't much to assemble by any means, but I did just get it put up this afternoon and things, and that's going to be very nice. It's going to make me more efficient doing that job, and it should help the lawn too, and that's going to be another big thing that I was kind of hoping to maybe be able to encourage people here tonight. Hopefully in the next number of weeks, either late this month or early next month, we will be asking for volunteers to do some work out in the yard. There are a number of things that do need to be done, and a lot of that's just going to be, let's be honest, it's purely about aesthetics. We'd like to have a nice healthy yard, lawn, etc., but we'd like it to look good, and that's part of why I've gotten a mower that's going to do mulching, so I don't have to be hauling bags of grass back and forth to the fence line, which will be nice. But yeah, we're going to be looking for volunteers for that, and I think that would be a great way for some people to come back a little bit in the church, spend a day getting to see people maybe they haven't seen in a while, reacquainting themselves, but also you get to get outside, and who knows, we've got a great member in Pete Bemis who helps with a lot of that stuff. He's getting some grass seed and fertilizer for us that we're going to want to put down and hopefully improve this lawn and just the general look of things and the health of things too. We may be going for, if the city goes and approves it, something called No Mow May, which is encouraging people to not mow their lawns during the month of May to help encourage pollinators and things during that time of the year, which I think would be great. I won't get to use that new mower then for a month, but I wouldn't mind that if it would help and things. So yeah, I mean, at some point we'll be asking for volunteers for a day, and maybe we'll find some way to throw a little pizza party or something afterwards. But I'd like to think that would be a nice thing for people to do, to get back, get in touch with the church a little bit, get in touch with some people they haven't seen in a while, do something good for the yard, do something good for themselves. I mean, a nice day of working outside, and you've probably done it before, there is a real satisfaction you can take in that, and helping to make God's green earth a little bit greener, well, hopefully there's some satisfaction in that too.
That's good. I like that, actually. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
That was being at least even debated. That's really cool, actually. So the next question is, I don't know what type of answer you'd want to give, but I ask it to everybody, so I'll ask it to you. Is there anything for the English Lutheran that you'd want to see in the future, like something you want to see done, or even if it's something small? I know it's a tough question.
Well, I can think of a few things off my head, but I mean, I don't want to get into maintenance things, especially in particular. A few things aren't good table conversation, but
no, understandable.
I mean, what I've kind of encouraged and brought up a few times in some meetings and stuff is just, encouraging, the young people here, especially. Hopefully getting them a little bit more involved, getting them a little bit more in touch with the church. I mean, I'm not proposing that we set up a rock and roll band in the sanctuary and try to go Christian rock by any means, but just something to help appeal a little bit to them and things.
I agree with that.
And, I mean, I've said about our sanctuary, I think we could use a little bit more color, a little bit more life in here. That's one person's opinion. The stained glass is nice, but overall, I think we could, liven things up in here a little bit maybe and things. But yeah, trying to find those ways to get a little bit more interactive with people. For when I was growing up, I, in all honesty, found church a little bland at times, and I just think there's, without breaking any rules or anything, that just a way to sort of liven things up a little bit, and
I actually completely agree.
Help get people involved in a reason to want to come to church and be here.
No, and that's a good thing to strive for. I got some more ideas besides just this show for ways I'm thinking of doing that as well.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Doesn't look like we have any questions, unless I'm blind, from the chat. So I would like to thank you for coming on. It was really informative. You were great.
I
Very
appreciate
personable, which I appreciate, and not just giving me single word answers or anything.
Well, I can't run on at times, so
No,
pardon
trust
me if I have.
I appreciate it. That's way better than. Yeah, that's fine. I think there's just going on.
No, this is a good thing. I think that's going on, and I think it's, again, this is part of what we need right now with the church. To help bring people back in who maybe have been missing for a while through COVID and everything. Just a way to feel more in touch with the church and those people and getting to know people and things. This should be a great social avenue for people as well as spiritual. So
I hope so. Alrighty, well, I'll see everybody next week, where we will have a Holy Week special that will be pre-recorded and will go up as a premiere, I believe, at 6 o'clock on Tuesday instead. So I'd like to thank everybody, and we'll see you next week.